All right, back here with another episode of the True Strength Life podcast. Aaron Simpkins, your host, owner of TrueStrengthApparel.com. I'm here with a good buddy of mine, Kevin Byers, fitness expert, bodybuilder, personal trainer, gym owner, very strong believer. If I'm talking about you to other friends, I always call you the guy that everybody wants to be. Because you also have like a 48-inch vertical, so that that helps. All right. So with all that being said, give us obviously for the people who don't know you, kind of give us just a short synopsis of who you are, what you do.
Who I am and what I do. All right. So how about I start with my why? So we serve people in our four walls and out in the community with a joyful, enthusiastic zeal. My name is Kevin Byers, and I'm the manager of Iron Made Gym. And so to break that down, I always capitalize joy because I believe true joy only comes from God. I believe nothing in life is worth going after without a great amount of enthusiasm and zeal, meaning genuine or authentic. But I also changed the verbiage in my head. I said manager instead of owner because I believe that if I am truly stewarding everything correctly, my time, my resources, how I treat people here, that it should all be offering to God, and He's ultimately the owner. I'm just taking care of it while I'm here. I got a beautiful wife, Jennifer, and I got two wonderful kids, Braxton and Alina, and they're 3 and 1. There you go, man.
Awesome. So you are I can call you a bodybuilder because you competed in a show, right? Like you don't mind being called that?
No, I've done about 9 shows.
Oh, wow. I didn't know it was that much. So you're a vet. So people are probably thinking a Christian guy who is involved in bodybuilding is not something that's very common. Or at least the general, the regular person doesn't hear of that very often. So give us your how it started, how your beginning journey into, even if you want to go as far as to just your passion for lifting, how did this journey start with you?
Yeah, so I got into lifting in high school. I was always the smallest kid. I graduated. I even entered my college year at 5'5", and now I'm 6'3". Wow. And so I was always, any edge I could try to get, that's what I wanted. And so I started lifting weights at actually a physical therapy center, and I was lifting in my basement for a while. And then I went to college, and I went from 5'5" to 6'3" in my first year and a half. And I had horrible knee problems with tendonitis and everything, was in and out of physical therapy for 2 years. But I approached the coach about playing for the team, and my view of it was he pretty much looked me up and down and was like, "You're too small." And so I'm like, "All right, I'm gonna show him." So
all right, I'll go grow 8 inches.
Right. So I started. I grew and put on about 80 pounds during all that, and I just found love for fitness and for lifting. I got onto the bodybuilding stage because I was always naturally very lean, but also I did it to try to conquer my fear of being in front of people. And I'm like, dude, if there's nothing that'll conquer that fear, it's being in a Speedo in front of everybody. And it helped, but it definitely didn't cure it. But it was the most humbling experience probably that I've ever had in my life. I went in with one expectation, came in dead last, and looking back on it, I'm so thankful for that. One of my favorite things to apply to my life and to think about is you can't always see what God is doing through the windshield. You can always clearly see what He's done through the rearview mirror. And I was completely humbled in that moment. And if I would have won, that probably would have been the worst thing for me because I wouldn't have earned it. I wouldn't have, put in my dues, so to speak. So in the bodybuilding, my objective, my goal is to win my natural pro card, and we're still going after it. 12 years.
Well, yeah, for my little following of bodybuilding, it takes a long time. But it's your beginning story of conquering your fear of being in front of people and on stage. I've heard that before. So it's interesting how there's there's a lot of bodybuilders who start that way, and then those guys that go and do that, they become very successful in a lot of other areas because, you know, they push themselves to do that one thing. So it's like, okay, what can I go and push myself to do now? You know, I think that's pretty cool. So the gym. If people are watching the video, that's your gym behind you. So how did that start?
So when I graduated from college, I spent 6 months unemployed looking for a sales job. And then I worked retail for 6 months. But during the whole time I was in college, during my breaks and stuff like that, there was a gym that had been in business for 18 years right down the road from where I lived. And it was the old school gym in the basement, just dirt everywhere. And it was like the stuff you see in Ronnie Coleman videos. And I loved it.
It was a dream.
Yeah, you know, as a kid, you're like, man, that place is awesome. As an adult and a parent, you're like, dude, that place is disgusting.
Yeah.
But it was a great time. And so after I graduated, I was lifting there, and the guy one day came up to me. He's like, Kev, I got some bad news. I'm going to close the gym. And I started laughing, and then I looked up, and this is a tough dude. And he's like in tears. And I'm like, holy smokes, he's serious. And so we talked a little bit, and that was that. And that night I had a meeting with my friends, and we started just brainstorming, like, what would a gym look like? We got to live somewhere. So pretty much my dream just came out of necessity. And God did some amazing things through that. Long story short, I was on Craigslist looking for equipment and everything. And I thought I had a plan. I had like 3 locations picked out where I was going to pick stuff up. And I woke up the next morning and everything was gone.
Wow.
And I'm just like at my desk in tears. And I'm like, what am I going to do? Like, I thought I had a plan. And that was the moment where I said to myself, there was not one time during this entire thing that I asked God what his plan for me was. And so it was at that point that I started praying about it. And I called another guy I found on Craigslist. And he's like, yeah, I got some plates and some bars. Come on down, Kevin. And he was like 25 minutes away. And that night before, I was looking at equipment, and there was this cable crossover machine that I loved. It was like 6 or 7 stations, and I set it as the wallpaper to the back of my computer. And I told my friend who was sitting right next to me, like, before I die, I want to own that. That's the most beautiful piece of equipment I've ever seen. And I walk into this warehouse the next day, and that thing is in pieces against the wall. And I'm like, oh my gosh, my mind was blown, right? So obviously I got that, and we got a whole bunch of other stuff. So I went to go, make the deal with the guy that night, and he's like, oh, we don't take checks. I only take cash. Like, oh, all right. And then he's like, oh, by the way, I'm leaving town tomorrow morning. I'm not going to be around anymore. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. And so I had like $1,000 in my bank account, and I'm like, I don't even know what I'm going to do. So I went home and I told my mom my business plan, which was, hey, I want to run a gym. And she like, all right, let's go. And she went to the bank and she got me the money I needed. I went and picked up that equipment that night. And the next day I called my brother. I'm like, here's a business plan. He's like, all right, send you a check overnight. And within a week I was open, and I didn't have like utilities, nothing. We had one of my first customer ever donated a generator for a couple of days so we could have electric. It was just amazing how God worked through things like that. And I was just telling somebody the other day that if I had to do something like that now, I feel like as adults, we way overthink everything instead of, I was still in the mindset of, I got nothing to lose. Let's just do it and see what happens. What's literally the worst that could happen? I go back to being unemployed like I was before. It's a big deal. I don't have any money anyways. And it was just amazing how God worked through all those things. And it's just a leap of faith. That's all it is. It was the same thing whenever I went to personal training full time. Just a leap of faith.
Wow. I think that's that's so cool because you didn't overthink it. Like you said, you didn't overthink it. You just jumped in and you just did it. And I think it's, especially in your situation, I think it's an example of how you actually did what God was leading you to do, because again, you didn't have every step figured out, but when you just did it, the steps got figured out, and I think that's so cool, how it just continually built up, and you got the machine you wanted.
It's crazy, man.
I know that was exciting.
Oh man.
Um, so, so currently, so we started. Now we're at the gym now. Currently, what so you're still working towards your bodybuilding career, right?
Yes, sir.
And you are a trainer. You train a lot of people. A lot. I saw that you train a lot of like high school athletes, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And you also seem pretty involved in the local community. Is that something that you try to purposely do?
Absolutely. I mean, that's part of my why. It's serving on our four walls and out in the community. And part of me getting out of my comfort zone is doing public speaking. And part of that is we hand out scholarships every year to our 3 surrounding schools. And I get to go and I interview all the kids who have applied for them. And then after that, then there's the award ceremony. So I get to give a speech and recognize them and give them a plaque and go to dinners and stuff with them. And it's just such a blessing and an opportunity. We're involved in a lot of stuff in our community. We're involved in a lot of athletes. I was involved in youth ministry at our church for 11 and a half, 12 years. So I was naturally drawn to that. But we also have guys who are 50, 60 years old, heart attack survivors, and they're crushing the weight room, doing 1,000-pound leg press. And it's just whoever's in our realm of influence, we're so excited to help. It's awesome.
That's so cool. I mean, I could say that you're one of those people. You have this personality that just is like a magnet to people. They want to be around you to see what's going on, especially obviously if they want to get in better shape or find a gym or something. As soon as they step in your gym, the whole well, I'm not somebody, I don't like to use the word vibe, but the whole like energy of the area and all, it's great. I was blessed to be there one time. What?
That comes back to enthusiasm.
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody who walks through the door, we want to greet and we want to know their name, just like that old show Cheers. Everybody who walks through here, I yell as soon as they come in. I want everybody to feel welcome because that's how I would want to feel. And the gym that I worked out at, it was a 24-hour access gym, so that's what I want. I didn't expect any of my clients, my customers to do with anything less. So why would I want that for myself?
Awesome. I love that. So where does I'm curious to get a little bit of your input on this. How about nutrition? Are you certified? I don't even know how that works. How do you deal with nutrition when it comes to your traders, to your clients?
Yeah. So we give them recommendations. So once they come in to, hey, what's your goals? And then what's your food like? And if they actively say, yes, I need help with my nutrition, then absolutely we'll help. But a part of that is, hey, I'm not a certified nutritionist, but here's some changes you can make. Well, for one, don't drink 2 liters of pop a day. That's pretty simple, right? But as far as like breaking down, all these people who are like hooked on what's the macros and all that stuff, I don't get into all that. That's not my realm of expertise, and I get frustrated dealing with that. So I'm happy to hook them up with professionals who can do that. But I can make solid recommendations for our clients and our people that come to the gym.
Cool. Because I was curious how you approach that. And just like there's obviously a lot of fad diets and stuff going on. And one of them is very popular, and even I know some guys around me that are on it. What do you think of keto? I'm just curious.
I have listened to so many health podcasts about that. So I think everything in moderation. Mm-hmm. And I also know that everything doesn't work. There's no cookie cutter thing for everybody. So what works for me might not work for you. But just like I said before, I can 100% tell you that drinking 2 liters of pop is not good for anybody.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I think is important is don't focus on the things you're giving up, but instead focus on the things that you're going to add. So I might tell you, hey, don't eat cookies, but instead I might word it as, hey, eat 2 cups of vegetables in your last meal. So you might not even be hungry for cookies later at night. So focus on the things you're going to add instead of things you're going to take away. And usually the things that are getting taken away are going to take care of themselves.
That kind of sounds familiar to Uh, that kind of sounds familiar a little bit to our walk with God. You know, we think sometimes it's we got to be better in this. We got to get rid of this. Instead, it's no, focus on the Lord, and then you look back a year from now, and it's like, man, I actually didn't really struggle with a couple of those things this past year. Um, yeah.
Hey, man,
Wow.
so many times it's not harder work. It's just kneeling at the cross and saying, you got me. Help me.
Wow. So now with that very smooth, amazing transition that I just did, um, how about talk about your faith and when? Let's start here because I like to start from the ground up. When were you saved, and when did it become? When did you get serious about it?
Interesting question. So I like to relate when I got saved to when I fell in love. I
Mm.
can't tell you a certain instant, and some people can.
Nope. I know.
Um,
Yeah.
but mine was more like a gradual transition, and it's just like when you know, you know. Um, I grew up in the church. I'm very thankful for my mom, who's been an amazing role model in my life. She's my hero. Uh, I couldn't have asked for anything better growing up in a great family environment and being involved in the church. Um, I think God works through tragedies and grief through your life and hard times. And I'm reminded in scripture, he tells us that, he has plans for good for us, not for harm, for those who love him. And, I lost my dad when I was in third grade. He passed away, and I've had a best friend commit suicide. And right now we've been closed because of this virus. And I was in 7-week prep for a show coming up, and that everything got canceled. So, God works all these things for his good. And I'm just along for the ride. Like it's amazing. I've had some great role models in my life, and I'm just blessed, man.
Hmm. Wow. So how do you incorporate that into what you do? Obviously, it comes out in your whole personality and how you approach things. But um, how do you? Okay, this is more of a specific question because I know people approach this differently. In some people, some people say like, I need to. Everything I do needs to have a Christian a message of Jesus in it. So like if I'm a whatever they own a business, there needs to be a verse on my card. There needs to be, people need to walk into the building and see Christian signs and know that I'm a believer. And also but so that's more of a direct approach. Other people they prefer the more, I guess, indirect approach where they want their faith and people to know about it because the people can just see it in how they do things, how they how they're living their life outside of their business, and how they also deal with their business, and work with people and stuff like that. And people can see that there's something different about them. So I guess with you having a position where you're around a lot of people, but you also have a place where people go, how do you see that? If you've ever even, I guess, thought of that and thought of it in that way. I don't know if you ever have, but
I think about that a lot, and that comes back to the environment to which we create. And if I truly, in my heart, am a Christian, if I truly love God, then the Bible says they'll know we are Christians by our love. So if I walk into a room that's anywhere and the vibe doesn't change, then I'm not living my life right. If the verbiage doesn't change when I walk into a non-secular, or secular room or whatever, then I'm not doing my job right. So when people walk in, they should be able to tell that there's something different in how I treat them, first of all, but then of the environment of everybody else around them and how we're interacting, being from the music that's being played to some of the signs that we have up to just how we treat each other. I think it can easily come down to that, how we love.
That's a great answer. Yeah, the environment is big. I've even thought, and this is something that you've put into practice. Like for a gym setting, the music is a big thing, and I know that you're somebody who plays a lot of Christian rap, probably a lot of Christian rock and stuff like that. Um, so that's something that maybe not everybody thinks about, but when somebody goes to your gym and they're hearing this music over and over, and at some point it's got to hit them like, I haven't there's been no cursing, there's been no like degrading women, there's been no, there's a lot, why is a lot of this like positive messaging, and wait, I just heard Jesus Christ, what, it's different, but it might make people, some people might pick up on that quick, and some people, again, it might hit them later on. But when you're consistent with that, I think it can have a big impact. And I know that that's something that you've done. Which reminds me, do you still have just that like little boombox thing, or do you have something different now?
No, man, we got some surround sound stereos wired from the ceilings, and we got Pandora business account, dude. We're legit.
Oh man, you leveled up real big. That's awesome. So, okay, so let's just get into some random specific questions. Okay, this is something a lot of people aren't aware of. You said you were in prep for a show, which means you were prepping for a bodybuilding show. Tell the people a little bit of what that looks like, because that's something that's not a normal thing everybody is aware of. Even just the idea of saying you were in prep, that might even seem a little odd.
Right. So to transition into prep, prior I was doing 4 meals a day, and kept them a little more dirty. Like if I wanted pasta, I ate as much pasta as I wanted, that kind of stuff. I wanted cake, I'll eat cake, no big deal. I didn't fret over anything. On days I didn't train on the weekends, I usually ate 3 or 4 times a day. It was no big deal. It was very stress-free. Then prep time, every day it's 5 meals. I bumped up to 2 times training a day, and everything was very consistent. From practicing posing routines, all the eating is clean. I did 3 pounds of meat a day, divided into 4 meals. And then for breakfast, you do either a dozen eggs or like some protein pancakes, stuff like that. No sugar. You try to cut all that out, and then you just start taking things away. So like my last meal, I would subtract some carbs and then add some fats, and then you just kind of toy with it to see how your body reacts, and then you just go down the chain. And then once you're a little bit depleted, then you fill back up, and every weekend we'd have a cheat meal to shock your metabolism, and then add a little bit of cardio in here or there, and that's pretty much it. So many people, I think, overthink it, but I've done it a bunch of times, and I feel like I know what works well for my body, so just kind of playing with it.
Cool. So what do you, I'm sure you have clients that are like this. What do you suggest to people, first of all, that might use the excuse like, oh, I've never worked out because I've never had time. And then also, so when they're at the point of they come to you because I guess now that they want to get into working out, they say, well, I don't have time. So what am I supposed to do here? How do you normally approach that?
Well, I will immediately tell them that you're never going to have time. You simply do that which aligns with your goals. And if your goal is to get in shape, then you got to lift, you got to eat right. And I also firmly believe that you don't find time, you make time. That's what got me that's how I'm allowed to read so much, because I make time for it. That's how I'm able to spend time with my family, because I make time for it. It'd be different if I didn't have a wife or kids, then I would be here and I'd be very lonely all the time. But you just make time for stuff. And for a lot of my clients, I'm just their accountability partner, and that's fine. That's what they need. That's what they want. And for some, they're more ambitious, so we'll give them things to do outside of the gym, not only nutrition, but for extra training sessions as well.
That's cool. So during this time, obviously this is a very unique societal situation we're in. Give some tips on like some home, just simple, like down and dirty home stuff that people can do.
Yeah. My favorite thing to tell my customers and clients to do if they want to get in shape and just get it out of the way early is wake up. As soon as you wake up, chug 8 ounces of water. Have it right next to your bed so you don't miss it. As soon as your alarm goes off, get up. Don't waste any time. Then right after that, go into a 10-minute circuit, continuous of body weight exercises, whether that's, you can choose one exercise for each muscle group. So that might be lunges, that might be like jumping up your stairs, dips, shoulder presses, push-ups, anything like that. You can use anything that's in your house, really. And then after those 10 minutes, you're going to jump in the shower, do whatever scrubbing you got to do, and then you're going to turn it on extreme hot, as hot as you can handle it for 30 seconds. Then you're going to turn it on extreme cold without turning it off for 30 seconds. Yeah. Make sure it hits you in the forehead and the armpits, and then just keep turning and try to do that 8 times. That's like the easiest thing. And then when you get out of the shower, then you go right into your meals, or even harder, right after that is to go right into 10 or 15 minutes of whether it's reading, meditating, or a prayer. Do that because your heart rate's so accelerated. Then you have to focus on the breath in order to bring your heart rate down while you're trying to accomplish the next thing.
So you incorporate everything.
What a better way to start the day.
Yeah, really. That's great. I'm going to try to do that. It's physical, mental, spiritual. Wow. I've heard about those showers. I've not really attempted it, if I'm being honest. But,
man, you have to. It is invigorating, man.
That's that's the mental battle. That's the mental of like, man, I really do not want to stand under a cold shower right now.
I love to make myself do things that I know are gonna suck, and that's what I think pushes me so far in my comfort zone so often.
Yeah. And
the cold shower thing was definitely one of them. And my first time I did, I'm like, how am I going to get through this? How am I going to get through this? And I'm just going to start singing. And so, like, for some reason, what came to my mind was I'm like punching myself in the chest and just going up and down and screaming, let the bodies hit the floor. I don't even know what metal song that is, but it was awesome. And that's just what comes out of my mouth every single time. The clients that I have do that, they first despised it, and now they're like, I can stand there for an entire song or two just with the coat on, and I love it. And you're not gasping for air, you're focusing on your breathing, and it makes you feel accomplished because you actually know, like, I knew where I was 2 weeks ago with this, and now I'm actually standing here taking this pain, and it's not painful anymore.
Wow. Yeah, The bars that I had suggested to you, the outright bars, the owner, Mark Lobliner, he was the first person I ever heard about this shower situation from. But it's pretty cool. He's somebody I basically, if he says it about nutrition or fitness, I trust it. And everything that you have said are all the same things that he said.
You got to follow the guy named Wim Hof, I believe is how you pronounce it. He's like the worldwide cold expert. Like, he hikes mountains just with boots and boxers on, and he is insane. And he has an incredible story, like to the point where he can change the heat in both hands, make it hot and cold in each hand. His mental game is on an entire another level. You trust me, research him, you will not be disappointed.
What was his first name?
Wim Hof, I believe is how you pronounce it.
Wim, so like W-Y-M, something like that?
So, I don't even know how to spell it.
I'm sure if I start spelling it, it'll probably come up.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, you touched on this real quick earlier, but I want you to talk about it because I think this is something very important. I'll give people a chance to follow you at the end if they would like to, but you should if you're listening. You brought up reading, and I love following your Snapchats. You probably saw last night. I screenshotted like 4 of them, but you always post pictures of pages and parts that you've highlighted, and they're always so good. And so how do you? I guess how'd you get into reading as much as you did? And I think that's important because I feel like there's 2 spectrums. There's either people who know the importance of reading and do it a fair amount, or there's just so many people who just don't. They just don't read at all. So what clicked in that for you, to realize how important that was?
Yeah. So it's kind of threefold. One, when I was told leaders are readers, that shocked me. Two, from a neurological standpoint of what it does to your brain and your body and how you can react to it. And three, the quote that goes, fools never learn, smart people learn from those around them, and wise people learn from those who came before them. So when I was a kid, I severely struggled with reading to the point where I would take, my teachers knew that I was struggling so bad, they would let me take the books home and read all weekend just to catch up to where the other people were. And you weren't even allowed to take your books home. And I'd be sitting in the corner whenever we were told in like fourth grade, hey, go read in the corner, everybody separate yourself. And I had to like sing to myself the lines that I was reading. And it was just painful. There was no enjoyment in reading. And elementary school, whenever you had to go around the classroom and everybody would read, it was just like anxiety attacks. It was horrible. I don't know if anybody else has. I know people have had that experience also. And this is a bad way to have kids read, in my opinion. So going from there, I already had the concept of I'm a bad reader. So I had a tutor when I was a kid, and she helped a lot. But going through high school, did not like reading. I did a lot of audio stuff from what I could. I remember we had to read the book Moby Dick, and I bought the audio and I put it on my headset every night and I'd fall asleep to it. And I'm like, man, by osmosis, let me remember this stuff. And, it turned out all right. And then I went to college, and school has always been very, very difficult for me. And one of the professors told me, you need to read the textbook 3 times. One time you're scanning through, the next time you're highlighting, and the third time you're studying it. And I said, well, if nothing else, I'm going to read this 3 times, do everything he just said. So when I fail a test, I have ammo against him, right? And I read all my textbooks 3 times. I took notes, I highlighted, I had tutors, and I got, I did better. Let's just say that. And so I came out of college, and the last 2 years is when I really fell in love with reading. And for those 3 reasons that I said before, and specifically for the neurological standpoint, I have 14 concussions, and the statistics on if you have 1 or 2, the causes of, the rate of dementia and Alzheimer's that you get is just astronomical. And I had my grandmother who passed away and had those symptoms for many years. And I am not afraid of dying. I am afraid of living without actually being here mentally. And when I'm 40, I want to remember how to get home. And when I'm 50, I want to remember my kids' names and my wife and our memories we've made. And that stuff tears me up, man. So to push myself to read that much is simply, I thought I was bad, and I wanted to show myself that I wasn't. And I wanted to get better at something. And if knowledge is a power, I don't believe that. I believe applied knowledge is power. So that's what I've been trying to do. And it's been amazing to see the people who I would say aren't Christians. They're the ones asking me questions like, hey, I get people text me, you got any book recommendations for my friends going through this? I'm like, yeah, here, read this. And I started, after I'm done with a book, I try to type up the notes for it. And then if anybody asks me, I'm like, hey, here's the notes. Here's all the highlighted stuff I had from the book. If you don't like reading, apply this first. See how it goes for you. But if I want to lead my family the best way I can, if I want to lead my wife the best way I can, if I want to run my business the best way I can, why would I not want to read from the best theologians, from the best business owners, if I can fast track my plan from 10 years to 5 years? Like, I want to learn from the wise people around me. And it became a point of me not liking reading and being painful to now I realize that I enjoy it, because we enjoy things so much more when we feel that we're good at them. And I feel like I am good at reading, and that's just a mental change that I had to make. And I really enjoy it now.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's huge. How do you, when do you read? What does that look like for you?
Well, from this coronavirus, my schedule is all out of whack, but, my time was I would get up at 4:30 or 5 and read for an hour and then cook my family breakfast. And then throughout the day, if I had another chance to do a reading session, I would do that for maybe 15 or 20 minutes. But, I've broken it up into different sections. So I'll do like maybe 2 or 3 books of training manuals. I'll read that, and then I'll go into 3 or 4 books of, spiritual and Christian books. And then the next section of books I bought were all neurological books, brain studies, and from his name's Dr. Amen. He's the leading world developer on brain mapping and how you can fix all that through your gut health and stuff like that. So
I think I've heard of him actually, but now I want to look into him more. That's cool. So when you say 3 or 4 books, you're saying like you would finish 3 or 4 books of one topic, then go to another one for a little while.
Right. Yep.
I like your idea of making notes. How do you make the notes? I'm curious about that. You said you made notes after you read a book. What does that look like?
So I just type up everything I highlighted.
Okay.
And then I put it in my library, Microsoft Word, and then I print it out and I put that paper in with the book, and then I have it digitally also. So that if I wanted something out of that book, I can either open it up or open it up on my desktop.
That's awesome. Wow. So, okay, what does your library look like? This question's really for my wife because I drive her crazy with my books, so I'm curious.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, for the last year we've been living out of boxes, so I got about 30 some books for Christmas, so I'm burning through those right now. But otherwise, I don't even know where the rest of my books are, to be honest. So
that's funny. Okay, so we're near the end now. So with that being said, I think we gave some good recommendations for people who I'm somebody who likes to give resources to people, likes to give tools to people, and because I can't make somebody apply stuff. I can't make them apply tools or apply knowledge or apply resources, but I do have some control over whether or not they have that tool or have that resource. So we've given some, I think, some good training tips, some ideas in that sense, even some nutrition. So as far as we just talked a lot about books. What are some of your favorite authors in different fields right now that people could check out? Or even if they're podcasters, if you listen to podcasts or stuff like that.
Yeah. We'll start with podcasts. The person who got me into reading the most was Tom Bilyeu and his wife, Lisa, and they're the founders of Quest Nutrition. They do a health theory podcast. They do a business podcast. They have Impact Theory University, which I've been involved in for the last 6 to 10 months. They are not Christian, but I get to pull a lot of things out of there and apply it to my life that have really helped a lot. So those podcasts with that Impact University. The next podcast I would say is Real Christianity, and that's with Dale and Veronica Partridge. And Dale has also wrote a couple of books, which, man, I highly recommend. One of them is People Over Profit. The next book I would recommend is Carol Dweck. She wrote Growth Mindset, and it talks about fixed mindset versus growth mindset. It's just a change in your mental thinking of what you can actually accomplish. And then after that, I would say Extreme Ownership. And that one, I can't remember his name. He's I want to say a Navy SEAL. He was a military.
Yeah, he's a Navy SEAL. I don't remember his name, but I've read that book too.
Jocko is his name. Yeah. Highly recommend that. And then the next neurological stuff I'm going into is by Dr. Amen.
Awesome. Sweet. I am definitely going to look up at the Real Christianity, because you've been doing I've seen a lot of quotes from you from Dale Partridge recently. So it's made me very curious about him. All right, cool. So let's close up. How can people get a hold of you? Where are you with your gym? And whatever you want them to follow you on, give them that.
Yeah, so on Facebook and Instagram, we're at Iron Made Gym. Snapchat, you can look under Kevin Byers or Iron Made Gym. It's also there. And if you're in the PA, Ohio area, we're in Middleton, Ohio. So come check us out. Love to help you guys any way I can.
Awesome. Yeah, go follow him on Snapchat, because I'm not saying don't follow him on the other ones, but on Snapchat is where he posts all his book quotes and stuff like that. So you got a lot of screen recording possibilities, like I do. I just steal all his stuff, but yeah, go do that. Thank you, sir. I appreciate this. I appreciate talking with you, and I know that the listeners will love to hear what you have to say. And yeah, let's keep moving forward. So
Awesome. Thank you, Aaron, for having me, and thank you for the way you lead your family, the way you run your business. You're definitely a role model, and I appreciate you being in my life also.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. All right, man. You have a great day. God bless.